kind of like at a loss at this point, but I think we have some issues with how the lease is structured, and some of these ambiguities. I think you raised a good point in terms of the non-construction issues, how those get flushed out, that those don't normally lend themselves to standard construction enforcement stuff. So, you know, those are concerns I have. I don't know how we you know, I'm not sure at this point how I would want to handle that with the full board. But I'm happy to hear what the other committee members think. I mean, we could, before you start, we could, based on what I'm saying, we could just draft a report to the board, actually deciding our concerns. That's one way without a recommendation. But that's, okay.
But I would say that, I mean, I don't think that not providing any type of recommendation is going to backfire. The reality is that as the committee and who's the members who sat for all these meetings, you know, the reality is that we need to come out with a position and not leave it ambiguous to the borough board as to what the committee board's or the committee's position is. You know? And if there is, quite frankly, discomfort at this point to agreeing for the disposition of the property according to how the lease has been described, by virtue of the fact whether we advocate or not, we have not been given the purview of the entirety of the lease. You know, if this committee feels that it's disadvantageous or not desirable to accomplish this position, there's nothing that says that that should not be today's recommendation. I think that, you know, more often times than not, this committee has been afraid of, not afraid, but reticent to wrangle, you know, to a certain amount what we should be doing versus what we want to do. And at this point, I mean, this is, you know, like I've said before in our private discussions, this is something in which, you know, the disposition is an important item. You know, we've left it, quite frankly, by the recommendations of Cornell and by the promises made throughout the process and the city, that the items that were being agreed to during the benefit negotiations were being appropriate. Attaching it as a document, and as we've already seen, as ambiguous form, does not give me any rest of comfort. And quite frankly, I think that I would be doing the community, you know, a disservice by just merely agreeing to it because they've said this is attached.
Well, did anybody clarify whether anything can be added or changed at this point in the document, or is are we?
I mean, I think that at this point we're
upping or downing it with?
I think we're doing upping or downing with recommendations or with any type of recommendation that we do that. Obviously, if you approve it, if you give recommendations, then the lease is approved. If you, you know, if we don't, and we say recommend that like a comment to the board not approve it, we will have a lively discussion within the board why, our position, and then, you know, provided we carry the same resolution, retain to the borough line and express as to what are the deficiencies of this.
Can this lease be tweaked at this point, or is it the way it is?
You have to be more specific.
Can it be made a little bit more specific? So it's not as vague as not with the vagueness that we're concerned about. And it address the issues
To some
that
extent,
we're.
it is the
Huh?
Well, could I suggest a hypothetical relative to
Right.
what
So
you're saying and what Jeff said? So obviously there's this ambiguity in terms of the language of the construction advisory task force. Who's on it and how they become members of the task force. And if we said that language had to be clarified, or we don't, or if we said that language should say specifically, is that something that we put into the main part of the lease? If the community board ultimately says that.
You know, I think that, I mean, the reality is that if in any other applicant, if they come for, you know, any type of disposition, and these are the issues that are being raised, I mean, the provident way of doing it is that the applicant would therefore say, oh, we know that there are issues. Rather than risking a disapproval vote through the board, we will withdraw the application at this time, and we will come back within X amount of days addressing the issues that are being raised. You know, and until that's an option that's being raised, given, I mean, I just don't see that happening.
Well, but I don't hear an answer to
I mean, I guess the way I would address it is, you feel like that's an actual mistake, and just say something else based on your conversation with Cornell, then like obviously that can be fixed, but.
Yeah, I don't see that, sorry, I don't see that as an ambiguity. I mean, that was our understanding through our conversations through the community process, through the elected officials review process. There may, as you know, the EDC reps have said, there may be people who disagree with that approach, but based on the conversations we had, and based on the agreements, and in terms of getting the approval vote from the city council, that was a request that we agreed to, and that was a conversation that we agreed to. So we don't see that as that as an example as ambiguous.
And I mean, quite frankly, an elected official is going to make an appointment. I don't think, you know, if an elected official makes an appointment, I mean, realistically, they're going to choose from Rick. I mean, these are the active organizations and the community board. These are the active organizations on the island.
We're the watchdogs, the ones that we formed the organization to make sure that things were done properly, and we've been eased out of it.
Well, can I suggest a different approach? Is that if the letter said that the committee was going to be selected by Cornell, I think that would be an even bigger negative, right? So I think you're putting us in an awkward position of saying you don't want the elected officials to do it, but presumably you don't want us to do it. So I guess on that provision, I'm not sure I'm following.
I mean, and quite frankly, Jeff, at last week's meeting, please, I laid out all the elected officials would have a rep, Rick would have a rep, Vera would have a rep, and Community Board 8 would have a rep, and that wasn't good enough.
Choose those reps.
The leadership of those groups.
Okay, but that's not what this.
But what I'm saying is that wasn't good enough last week either.
And the whole, okay, let's just, we have to take a step back from the whole point. I mean, the whole point is, the whole point of this, right, I mean, if we're focusing on each disposition, is that there are terms within that EDC could have taken two approaches with this lease. They could have taken the letter, worked in specific provisions and specified those, and specified that it's easily identifiable, it's clearly defined. That, you could have done that. Instead, the way the lease has been set is it's attached as an attachment.
So this is where I beg to differ, and I respect what you're saying, that there's two different ways to do things. We did an analysis of what we thought would be the best way to respect exactly what we wrote and have it be as enforceable as any other provision in our lease. And this is what our lawyers determined was the best way to do that. So I have to tell you and urge you to say that that was how we did it in that job. So we have no doubt that this is just as enforceable as any other term of the lease. And we wanted to qualify that as exactly what we're giving was the agreement. So I just want to re-emphasize that, because there's been some point that it's not. Absolutely is. In fact, we did that analysis and said, how can we report this, make it as enforceable as any other part of the lease, and exactly reflect what the intent of the Cornell. So what we determined, and it's not less enforceable.
That's not what we're saying.
Okay,
What is
so
being
I
said
just
is
wanted to make that clear.
it's not the enforceability. It is, quite frankly, you know, when you write a lease, when we draft leases, we draft leases with so much specificity that there is no question, right? Because you don't want ambiguity to exist, because that could be a basis for default or not for default. More often times, 90%.
So as I said, I want to just restate what I said before. You have read your requirements. We believe we can enforce what was written, or we would not put in our lease.
It's not the question of enforceability. It's the question of whether the terms, the specific terms, I mean, you're discussing it here actively. Whether or not the term is clearly reflective of what the agreement was being.
Again, I think the issue is that it was a long process. Everyone has different perspectives on it. I think if we went and took the letter and started to rewrite it, everybody would disagree about what was coming out the back end, and we start into a new process.
Because that's how the lease works. You give a letter of intent, you put forth what your basic terms of your business plan is, and then you come back, the parties come back together and they work out the specific legalities. So that's a normal, business transaction. That's not the approach it's taking.
But I mean, quite frankly,
We're not, I really do not want to speak any further than any exact text.
but if what we're saying, Jeff, is that the
So
elected officials
I'm
aren't
going to
good
make,
enough to
I'm
make this
going to make a motion. And I think I'm going to make a motion and I'd like to speak to disapprove the disposition of the lease. I'm open to having friendly amendments for any conditions that any of the board members wish to provide, but at this point, just for an up and down, that is what I'm going to propose to my motion. I'll accept friendly amendments.
Okay, so would you, as part of your motion, since we will need to explain this to the board, and if the board ultimately decides to list why the committee, in your motion, would be disapprovers. So I don't know that we can draft that specifically this evening, or could you give us some reasons why,
I mean, if we're talking about the whereas.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess the whereas to be whereas, well, I think we can work this out. I mean, it's the whereas questions, of course, there are remaining reservations and questions within the community as to the specific terms of lease. Whereas there are concerns within the community as to the events of default, the events of default, and what categorizes events of default and events of cure. And whereas I think that these are the biggest positions is both the ambiguities as to and disagreement within the community as to what was agreed to in the letter versus how it was going to be drafted.
Oh, well, can you repeat that?
I'm going to have to.
Just the last one.
What was the just real quick. Oh, right. Whereas there is concern from the community as to what was agreed to in concept versus what was incorporated within the letter. And whereas current lease as drafted really attaches those agreements in the letter to the lease, the board or the committee recommends disapproval to the disposition. The lease. And then whichever friendly amendments, including
Any discussion?
or friendly amendments. I mean, I'm happy to have them require them to come back as well.
Sure.
I'm sorry. No, I'm looking for any friendly amendments.
Discussion
My only concern, I agree with that, and I have concerns around the marching provision of the lease. I would like to see a stronger advocacy, if you will, for a higher percentage. And I don't know who that falls upon. I don't know who's left to cut that deal or make that happen. Put those numbers around. I don't know. Sit at the table and decides that. So, say for that.
Well, the community board's recommendation, I believe, was 50% reduction. So when the community board voted on the ULURP, we voted in favor of a 50% reduction. We've been told that there would be a 40% reduction from the EIS and a 50% reduction over standard methods. So that's what Cornell was saying in this letter. So.
And then maybe I would add to the motion, and it'd be further resolved that EDC recommends returning to the committee within 30 days to address the issues raised during the
I mean, it's my understanding that the borough board usually has 60 days. Well, the borough board or president has generally asked that nothing happen until 60 days 5th. And so, we'd be happy. June 5th doesn't, 60 days comes after the next borough board meeting, but I don't know what provisions could happen at the borough board in terms of that time. I think we're asking to give us. You want to say something?
The borough board doesn't meet in August.
The borough board doesn't meet in August. Okay, thanks.
I want to clarify something. What are the things that you think are not, need to be fleshed out as specifically in the lease? I don't have that here.
As we beef up the resolution. I mean, there's.
We'll do a draft, we'll do a draft, circulate it, maybe just to be formal. We can have a committee meeting before. I'll talk to Nick about this tomorrow. Many committees draw up their resolutions after it's actually voted on. But I will check with Nick and ask him whether he thinks that's acceptable, or he thinks that the committee should meet prior to the full board meeting on Wednesday to adopt it. But I think what I would suggest now is we've got a motion, I will second it. And if there's any further discussion, ask for a vote, and then we'll discuss with Nick in terms of the paper. So,
I need to clarify exactly what we're voting on. We're voting on a disapproval
because of
or
the.
a friendly amendment or with a friendly amendment?
No one suggested a friendly amendment.
I was asking for saying something.
So, but we were open to it, Jeff was open to it because he proposed a motion. So we now have a motion on the table to disapprove because of the reasons Jeff enumerated. So those in favor, raise their hands. So we have Ellen, and those who want to ponder?
I'm not sure. I mean, I would approve with a friendly amendment.
Do you have an amendment to make?
I think approve it with
We have,
approve it as long as they add in our recommendations.
oh, we can do that, I think the sense is here, disapproving unless approving with, because perhaps the sense is when the community board originally approved it, that's what we did, and maybe that wasn't a strong enough, had we disapproved it, subject to conditions.
Okay, so then maybe I'm not understanding then specifically what specific concerns do you think
What
are not?
What I've already said, I mean, what I said.
Raise it again for me, so that
So,
sorry.
I mean, we can review if you wanted.
I can give you a list, Ellen. I got a long list. You want a list? I can give you.
It is for the whereas, I mean, if you want to rewind the tape, maybe
Yeah,
take a
I'd
second
like
to
to-
listen to it, and I think we should take a pause. That's why I do that, Ellen, it's hard for me to.
Okay, so let's see if we can do that. So we're gonna rewind the tape, which is
You have the list, Linda?
Five minutes. It sounds like, would you mind, Jeff, could Linda read what
This is not going to take 3 minutes.
and see if, Linda,
Yes.
Come up and read,
I
read what you
gather
have.
you have taken notes, and you took notes of
Yes.
Jeff's reasons why, the reasons for disapproval,
The whereas is that was like.
Yes.
without the whereas.
There are too many ambiguities, and it needs to be tightened. And things like, I agree, that construction task force, it should include, and it should say, not, well, it just say Rira, Rick, but to be
There's
chosen by
nothing
each.
ambiguous about
That's
this.
just one
Just
example.
to be safe here.
There's nothing
Maybe I
ambiguous.
think I should. Go ahead.
Well, it should be more
I think you're,
You want
thank you
something
for your help,
different.
but I think you probably the board should. So.
And the
one
other
was-
point, the other point was.
One was the fact that, we were not happy, we would not be happy with the fact that the directly from the letter, and those terms are not specifically made, incorporated into the lease document itself. Two, that there are there are commitments in the letter which differ from what we believe were the original commitments. So writing in the letters is different from what we thought we had heard Cornell will agree to, that there's a concern about the enforceability because of some of the ambiguities, and I think
The question, there are concerns concerning the revision as to events of default, and what constitutes a continuing default, not a default, in the remedy and cure periods thereof.
Right? So,
So, with these kind of ambiguities, so the commitments are a letter should be in the lease?
I think we're saying that the lease,
But, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I thought that you said that that was.
I really don't think we should.
Okay.
Just finish this.
we're basically saying, generally those reasons, we're recommending disapproval.
Are you saying, Larry, that this lease, that the community benefits, the community agreement that were submitted to the community board, to the borough board, that were incorporated in the EULA, is not what's being attached now?
No, I think what we're saying is we're not comfortable with those agreements as being attachments rather than worded into the documents.
They are going to be into the
They are,
document.
I mean, that's what I
They
No,
are.
I understand that, but okay, I really don't. It is incorporated by reference. There are obviously items there are items, when you incorporate an item by reference, right? You don't have the virtue of somebody every single time this attachment is taken a look at, explaining what was really meant versus what is meant.
We don't have the lease, so,
And we,
That's,
I've
I've done many around this for the city. This is absolutely legally enforceable. It's the right way to do it so that we incorporate exactly what we agree to. And it will be, there's no, this is a totality. So I just want to make that clear.
Jeff, I'm really having, because this is so important, that, the letter, all of the commitments that were made all along the way and were passed are going to be incorporated into the lease.
Right.
Understood, right?
right, but
Okay.
I don't, the reality is that this year-long process of negotiation with the community is that these provisions were not going to be methodology-wise, regardless of whether you believe the drafting-wise is more appropriate or not. The understanding from the community was that it would not, it's one in which the specific provisions, for example, let's just take the construction committee, right? If you are committing to the construction committee, that the specific details of the construction committee would be fleshed out, and specifically according to what the negotiated term was, right? There's obviously
And it is.
discord, but
It is.
but what we're hearing now is that obviously that the letter as to this, yes, there's the creation of a committee, but the term of the construction committee itself, and the term provision as to who constitutes a member. I mean, the problem that you had, quite frankly, at the beginning of this whole process is rightfully so because they have very good attorneys. The commitment letter is written in such a way in which there is where we are now, ambiguities as to, for example, the construction committee, who represents the members and who was specifically appointed.
That's not ambiguous, Jeff.
What's even,
It's not ambiguous, it's right there.
It's ambiguous.
It's not what we asked for.
There's
But you had
possibility.
plenty of a chance to opine
Okay,
on
so,
that. And
this
we
again, this
asked
is
for
why
your
we're not,
opinion.
I
But
really
never
don't.
Jessica,
got it.
you and Jessica changed it the last minute. It's not what CBA asked
Please,
for.
let's listen to Jeff. Sorry.
So this is, again, if I'm hearing this from my own board member, who's saying to me during these committee meetings, that this is not in accordance with what, in my negotiation process, with what this was supposed to be, how this commitment was supposed to be embodied within the lease. And I think that's really what we're talking about, is how these commitments were to be embodied and were to be incorporated into the lease. If we're hearing that that's not how it was supposed to be done, or understanding that's how it's to be done, I'm going to give credence to my fellow board member. And this is where a lot of, by and large, a lot of the position of the committee members have come. So we have a vote in front of us.
Right.
And if there's anyone who would like to call the question, I'd like to get this vote done.
Second.
I want to clarify one thing before we go.
Well, the questions could call, there's no further.
So all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained?
This is how it's been for a year. She is so easy. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I want to know if this can be done, if this could be a voluntary addition of our complaint.
Sidelines?
She thinks it's just one issue that can be able to issues.
May votes and subject to full board applicants who indicated changes and orders. Put a substitute resolution.
Okay, then I'll vote for that.
Okay, so we're adjourned.